Hi, I'm Christine Caven, and I'm the Director of Business Development. And on this show, we talk with founders that we've backed about what it actually takes to build, pivot, and scale a tech company. Today, I'm joined by Jim Stallings, General Partner at PS27.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us. Today, we're sitting down with Nick Cianfaglione. He's the founder and CEO at RestauRent. You're going to hear a lot about this company. Welcome, Nick, to the show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here this morning.
Yeah, well, look, we don't have a lot of time. I know you're busy. We pulled you out of the front lines. We just wanted to get a little bit of what we call founder mode insights from you.
Yep.
Um, Look, I've just learned from working with founders over the years that there's a moment when they've been working on a problem and it sort of clicks. Is it like a eureka moment where they say, this is a big problem. I'm going to solve this for an industry and build a company. When was that moment? What was it like for you when you said, boy, this is an opportunity. I'm going to go build something off of this problem?
So I think there were a couple moments for us when we were starting to build a restaurant. So the first moment was the initial idea. And so the genesis of restaurant was I was helping my mom plan, coordinate two family events, having been in the events industry myself for 15 years. And I was going through the process and I realized firsthand how broken that industry was. And so that's where the idea came from was how do we make booking a group or private event as easy as making a reservation? And then from there, once we kind of started building it out, I think there was, kind of a couple key moments after that where it was like, this is really worth investing 100% of our time and building this company. And one of them, I'll never forget, the concept was just an idea. And I was introduced to an investor and he gave me his card and he said, when you have a demo, call me. I'd love to invest. And so that was the first time it was like we were pre-product, pre-revenue, pre-everything. It was a seedling of an idea. And I had an investor saying, hey, this is going to be big. And then this, kind of the third and final time after that was we had pitched our first venue on this and they signed up same day. And that was when I think the third and final piece was in place that we were like, this is going to be massive. And so, yeah, that all kind of came together.
So it started with something personal. I mean, you were working on a real problem in your life, and someone else came in, an investor, saying, "This is big. Call me." Right. And then a customer then joins the same day, when you made it available.
Yep.
So that's amazing. Christine?
Yeah, Nick, one of the things that I describe restaurant as is like the Airbnb for restaurant spaces. I was just looking at the site yesterday, and it's incredible how you're able to filter the spaces by how many people that are joining, or even as detailed as down to if you're looking specifically for a coffee shop space in a certain area. Can you talk a little bit about what the product is and also the AI, that component of the product, and how AI is driving in this industry?
Yeah, and so the easiest way that I always describe restaurant is exactly that. It's the Airbnb or the open table for group and private events. How can somebody easily search, find, discover, and book any space they need for any event? And whether that is, I need a 30-person graduation party venue that has a private space that's outdoors and it's kid friendly and it's in this city. What's my options? And behind that, though, is, I think we're really living in a day and age where I always like to look at it of, instead of when you need to make a business decision, instead of the first thought being, how do we build this? How do we hire someone? How do we complete this action? The first thought is, needs to be what sort of tools, AI tools, automation, stuff like that can help us achieve that without, first going into a capital intensive decision. And so that's really how we use AI in the company. We do use AI for filtering and stuff like that, but we also work in an industry, for example, where our clients are very busy. And so we've built advanced AI systems that help clients onboard to their accounts in under 10 minutes. We use different AI systems that we've built internally to prospect and make the sales more efficient of not actually doing the outreach, but how do we, analyze and make sure the clients we're reaching out to are the clients that we're going to provide the most value to. And how do we use AI internally to build a more efficient, profitable, growing engine? on the operational side. And that's really how we use AI. And then it's only getting deeper in terms of how our product uses AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick, you talked a little bit about the sales process. Can you tell us what your customers look like?
Yeah, so the majority of our customers are, we have two types of customers because the restaurant platform as it exists today is a traditional marketplace. And so on the consumer side of people looking to book, we like to categorize our ICP as what we call the non-professional event planner. And so that can be anyone from the mom of three who's helping coordinate a family gathering, or it can be also the person who is the director of sales, who they have a core job they need to do, but a part of that job, they might need to schedule a 20-person private dinner for taking their sales clients out when they're at a conference. It's people that don't have the time, don't have the relationships, don't even have the structure of where do I go? How do I, do this process? And that market represents about 400 million occasions that happen every year that are guided by these non-professional event planners. And so the other side of that is then predominantly places that have food and or beverage on site. And so 70% of the locations we work with are locations that are within a major metro area that offer food and or beverage on site. And the other 30% being, traditional event venues, no food and beverage on site. Maybe someone wants to, book it, bring their own food, their own catering, because we do work with people for the life cycle of their events. And so we might have someone that books a brewery for a kid's first birthday party, and then they also at their day job need to book a private dining room for, a sales conference. And so, we like to have a lot of different spaces. And so that's kind of where our two ICPs break down.
Wow, 400
Yeah.
million events. It can sometimes feel like that when you have a big family.
Yeah.
Jim, go ahead.
Yeah. No. So look, Nick, every startup, every company needs capital.
Yep.
At different phases, it always needs capital. It's like, fuel in the car, right? So, and I know you've raised capital, you're raising capital now. Can you just share some insights? What is that like? What does it feel like? I mean, I know it's challenging, but what's your view from the ground up, from a founder's perspective I mean, we're VCs, so we on one side of it, we provide the capital. What is it, from your perspective?
So I think from the founder perspective, and also for the most important part of founders listening to this, of what to know about fundraising, is I think there's three things. Number one is it is a full-time job. Fundraising is 100% a full-time job. You cannot treat it as a side hustle or part-time. You're either fundraising or you're not. The second piece of it that I think kind of going through the fundraising cycles that we have is you have to learn a couple different things about the fundraising market. You have to learn, where does your company fit the best? What VCs are going to align best with your company. You have to remember that you're going up against other deals that you might have a great company, but the other deals that VC is looking at better fit that fund's thesis. Or, how do you utilize different structures for fundraising? So for example, we're headquartered out of Rhode Island. In New England, there are a lot of, I wouldn't say traditional investors, but there are a lot of investors that prefer traditional structures for fundraising. So they either go equity rounds or convertible notes. Whereas I have a lot of founder friends that are on the West Coast, and it's a lot of equity or safes. And so with us, we funded a lot on convertible notes because that is what our kind of investor groups that we talk to are more used to. And so it's just building that successful cycle is fully committing to it, figuring out which funds are the best ones to talk to, which ones fit, your thesis, what you need. And then just knowing, what are the terms to look for, what's a good deal, what's a bad deal. Because at the end of the day, there is, money out there. And it's just figuring out which is going to be the best fit for your company at that time, for the terms you're looking for, and with the partners that provide it.
Yeah. Full-time job.
Oh, yeah.
There's not one size fits all. And you've got to go with the market and the base of investors that you're dealing with, right? I mean, I mean, that's your lesson here. Great. Christine, what are your questions?
Yeah, Nick. As a founder, I know you get a lot of advice, you hear a lot of different things. What is some of the best advice that you've gotten so far that's really helped RestaRent grow?
So I think there's a couple key advice points that have always stuck with me over my career and also with RestaRent. Number one is, I think, the greatest advice of all, of don't take all advice. I think that's number one that every founder needs to learn, because you will get advice from everyone. As a founder, your job is to figure out, you need to distill that down and figure out which is the advice I need to go with. And then the second advice, going back to that, is advice I actually passed down to another founder the other day. I always like the idea that anyone who is an advisor to a company should have stake in the company. And so what one of my advisors told me from an early day, an investor, was, even if your advisors invest $1,000, make sure that they put something from their own money in that company to align themselves with the success. And so, we have early advisors in the company that, they've invested $2,000, $5,000, nothing crazy, but it aligns them that they feel more committed to this company rather than just being a casual advisor. And that is really kind of the two biggest ones that stick with me. And I think the last third one that really helped me with RestauRent is stay focused on one really critical thing. And so, when you look at companies, I think a lot of people compare, their day one to another company's day 7,000.
Right.
And they're like, oh, Airbnb, they do all of these things. And it's like, yes, but for the first 10 years of Airbnb, they did one thing. They were the best at finding how to, find a space in the city that you needed to go to stay at. And so we've been really focused on that on RestauRent. For the first 4 years of the company, we stayed very focused on how do we be the most efficient handshake between someone looking for a space and someone that has a space. And then as we master that, then we can start to add on other stuff as it becomes successful. But I think people try to build the long-term vision of, this is the billion-dollar company. They try to build that in day one. And that's just where everyone it's over distracted and you don't have the focus to grow.
Yeah.
Nick,
Nice.
how long have you been building RestauRent?
I think it's coming up on 4 years. It's about three and a half, little, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, congratulations on all the success that you've had so far.
I bet it didn't feel like 4 years.
No, one of my co-founders said it the other day is, we've been together almost as long as like your friends in high school. And I was like, wow, that's a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's you sort of age in dog years. Look, we're gonna let you run, and just one more question here. We're talking about milestones. So what is the next hurdle, the next mountain, the next sort of distinguishing objective in your mind for RestauRent that you're looking at? I mean, as you mentioned, you do this in stages. A $1 billion company starts with $1. Okay, so as you've come through some stages now, but what is that thing that's going to define RestauRent next?
Yeah. And so, not to give too much of it away, but I think the vision with us is it stays aligned with what we've always said from the start, which is we want to make booking a group and private event as easy as making a reservation. And so for us, the next major milestone is just continuing to grow the amount of supply and demand that we have on the network. And then it kind of morphs into, how do we build that engine so that it continues to grow naturally? It's embedded across the internet. How do you get to a world like something like an open table where you can't avoid open table? And so that's kind of the next major milestones for us. Is we've proven out product market fit. We've proven out the model works. We've proven all that stuff out. And so how do we now continue to double down on that, continue to grow it efficiently, and then establish ourselves in a way that the clients are at massive utilization rates, they continue to grow, and our process is so embedded that RestauRent becomes a household name where someone's like, oh, you need an event? Okay, you can go and RestauRent it. And that's where we've always said is when RestauRent becomes a verb to restaurant a place, that's where that company has reached that $1 billion level where this is a behemoth that can't be displaced.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah, now it's a verb. Okay, I got it. Very good. Christine, wrap us up. He's got to go to work.
Yeah, Nick, as we wrap up here, where can people find you and follow your story?
So the easiest way is on LinkedIn. Obviously, I got a long Italian last name. It's hard to spell, so you'll see it in a title or something that you can find out. But yeah, easiest way is definitely LinkedIn. I'm always on LinkedIn. You can send me a message. You can connect. That's always the easiest.
Well, thanks so much for joining us on the Founder Mode podcast. Until next time, think big and start small.